Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Kelly Imee. Welcome to our course together. Whether it's your first course or your fifth course, I'm really excited to join you on this educational journey. I wanted to take an opportunity just to make a little video to introduce myself, give you some expectations, talk a little bit about writing, and give you the opportunity to put a face and a voice to the name. Sometimes the online learning environment can feel a little informal and it can be hard to hear the academic voice or the instructor's voice in their writing. So now you get a chance to at least associate my voice with some of the writing that you'll get from me, both in discussion and in comment on your papers. So, like I said, welcome. One thing I want to talk about is making sure that you're looking at all the different announcements that I'm going to put out this first week. There's going to be a lot of them. Some of them are about the late policy, some of them are some writing suggestions, others are about the course specifically, and one's going to be a longer introduction about myself. Please make sure you read all those. Any questions you have about the late policy, it's in the late policy. Everything should be really clear. Communication is really important. Expectations, they're all going to be in there. There shouldn't be any questions, but if you do have questions after you've read through the announcements, please reach out to me on email, through either Signals or in the Canvas inbox, either way, or you'll be able to go right into the announcements and make a comment right there. So if you have any questions, your question can benefit your fellow students, so go ahead and ask it. There's no dumb questions. Secondly, I want to make sure that I talk a little bit about expectations in regards to doctoral work. So you're in a doctoral program. If you didn't think you were in a doctoral program, I want to let you know that you are. The course that you're taking from me is a doctoral level course. So how is that different? If this is your first course, what's going to be really different is going to be the level of analysis that you're expected to do. If this is your fifth course, and this is the first time you're hearing this information, know that my expectation, the doctoral level expectation of writing and analyzing work is very high, because at the end of your journey, at the end of your program, whether it's in organizational management, human resources, or education, you will be writing a dissertation. So your original work, your analysis of a particular topic is going to be on display and eventually will be published. So it's really important that we're practicing those skills of analysis, of applying what you learn in class to real life, whether it's a situation that you've dealt with before or a situation you think you may deal with in the future. So as you're writing, make sure that you are giving thought and analysis to what you're writing. That is doctoral work, and I will repeat it and I will point it out if you don't do it in papers or in the forum. I'll give examples as we need to throughout the course. The final thing, when I mentioned dissertation and even the analysis, writing is what makes or breaks doctoral students. Your dissertation is all you, and it's all your writing and it's all your research. And if you struggle with writing now, it's only going to get worse towards dissertation when you don't have as much support or as much structure to get your work done as you do right now in our 6, 7, 8, 9 week courses that we have. So if you can develop good habits of writing now, early in a program, it's really important. Some things I typically see that I want you to avoid, pitfalls if you will, in doctoral students' writing. The first is oversighting or simply paraphrasing. Now, you do have to cite, because I don't want you to plagiarize, which is the third thing. But if you are citing every single paragraph, or I'm sorry, every single sentence, you are oversighting. If you are citing first sentence, last sentence, 2 or 3 sentences in the middle of a paragraph, you're most likely oversighting. Citation is when you are acknowledging or directly quoting someone else's work. Doctoral work and the writing in this course will largely be your analysis of a question. You're going to be applying what you learn. You can reference the text, you can reference current literature within the last 5 to 6 years to see what's going on in industry right now. But if every line requires a citation, then you're not doing analysis. And I will call you out on it so that you know, hey, this is not analysis, this is paraphrasing, this is baccalaureate level work. And then I may offer some suggestions on how we can get to the analysis. I'll ask you some questions. In your first couple papers, you're going to get a lot of mark from me. If I had a red pen, it would be the proverbial bleeding all over your paper. Instead, you're going to get comments and maybe highlights, strike throughs if words and things aren't correct or maybe need to be reworded. I will offer endless feedback. My philosophy of teaching is leader as coach. So I bring to you that coaching, which means that you're going to get a lot of feedback. Now, if my tone in the feedback is something that doesn't work for you, please let me know. I am very direct in how I give feedback. It is not personal. It's simply to save time. If something isn't correct, I'm going to point it out to you, and I will offer you alternatives for how to fix the thing that's not correct. For your first 1 or 2 papers, there's going to be a lot of comments. After that, I will simply highlight something and tell you to see previous. If you're making the same mistake over and over, I'm just going to refer you to a previous paper. I'm not going to repeat those comments. So make sure your first and second paper, you really dig into the comments if there are comments, so that you can improve your writing. If you're already a pretty good writer, I will give you options to elevate your writing. Because again, when you get to dissertation, it's going to be all you. So let's get in some good habits now. Okay, so first thing, oversighting and simply paraphrasing, bad, don't do it. Definitely cite, do not oversight. Second thing is passive voice. I see this a lot, especially with students when they're not familiar with material. This is where your sentences end up a bit jumbled. Maybe the subject's at the end and the verb's at the front, and there's it should have been or it could have been. Anytime you have multiple modifiers to a verb, it tends to be passive voice. And if everything I just said is really confusing to you, please go to the Writing Center and look up passive voice and ways to avoid it. There's a lot of resources out there. And I will make recommendations. If I see passive voice, I will make recommendations in your papers on how you could have maybe flipped your sentence so that it wouldn't be passive. So please read through those and then practice that. Your discussion forums are a really great way to practice some of the techniques that I might give you if you're having trouble in your paper. I won't do that in the forum. I won't call you out in our discussions like, hey, you used a lot of passive voice. I'll do that privately and in your papers. If writing is something you struggle with, please get ahead of it on the power curve. Get ahead of the power curve, get with the Writing Center, and get me drafts of things that you're working on. I won't read entire drafts of your work, but if you have a couple pages, if you have an introduction and you want me to look at it, I absolutely will do that for you so I can get you going in the right direction if you're worried. Okay, so first thing, don't oversight and don't simply paraphrase. Second thing is passive voice. Avoid it, don't do it. Third thing is going to be plagiarism. We definitely do not want you to plagiarize. That's a good way to get in a lot of trouble and not be able to finish the program. So how do we avoid plagiarism? One is properly citing. And that means not just citing other people's ideas and giving credit where credit's due, but using the proper format. So if APA is something that you struggle with, please go to the Writing Center. And there's a lot of resources on how to do proper citing for different things. For your first couple papers, I'll even put links in, if there are links available, to specific APA tools. So if you had a problem with your abstract, I will give you a direct link to the Writing Center's section on writing abstracts. Same with certain kinds of citations. I'll make sure that I put those links in so that it's really easy as you're going through your feedback that you can go to the resource and say, oh, this is how I was supposed to do it. Or, oh, now I can use this for my next time. So another tool that I use is Turnitin. We will use Turnitin for both the papers and for your discussion forums, because it has happened that if a person repeats a class or they're maybe in classes with friends who have done this class before, that people have reused discussion forums. It's sad to say, academic integrity is really important. Your word, your name goes on your words. The words that you type, the research that you put out there, your papers and your dissertation, that is you, yourself, that you are putting into that document and that research. And if it's plagiarized, if it's inaccurate, that's a reflection on you as well. And we don't want that to happen. So make sure you're using Turnitin. Make sure you're adequately citing your sources. Ensure that you're utilizing the Writing Center. You're getting ahead of any issues that you have, and that will get you in good habits and on the right path for writing and being successful in dissertation. So last thing I want to talk about is communication. So communicate. UAGC has a culture of care. We understand that life happens. I work full-time as faculty at the Army War College, so I teach all the time. I've got 3 kiddos. We're a military family, so we have a lot going on. And you probably have a full-time job, or school is your full-time job, and maybe you have kids or family, things that you're dealing with. We get that things happen, but communication is so important. If you need extra time, if you're struggling with something, if one of the concepts that we're going over isn't clear to you and it's bothering you, please reach out to me. Give me a chance to help guide you through it and see if we can't get you on the right track. Signals is a great way to get a hold of me. That's in the Canvas system, also the Canvas inbox. I have office hours that are going to be listed in my announcements, so if we need to do a phone call, I will do that with students as well. But most important is please communicate. It's very rare that I've ever said no to a student when they're having trouble. There's certain things that I have to say no to. I do not regrade. If you have turned in a paper or a project and I have graded it, that grade stands. Resubmitting and regrading is for high school and bachelor's work. It is not for doctoral work. So if you're struggling with writing, please make sure you take care of that, or let me look at a draft so I can get you in the right direction. So we don't regrade unless plagiarism is involved, and that is part of university policy. The second thing is, after a certain amount of time, I'm not allowed to take late work. So I'm really flexible when it comes to things being a little late, because again, life happens, but I also have to follow university protocols too. So please make sure that you read the late policy, because there are certain things I'm just not allowed to do. All right, this was a lot, I know. And again, I talk really, really fast, but I really look forward to seeing you in the classroom. Reach out if you have any questions. If anything that I said wasn't clear, or again, if I talk too fast for you to be able to understand it, everything that I've talked about here, I also put in writing in all the different announcements. So I look forward to having you on this educational journey, and I'll see you in class.